everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and we are joined by Tim Picciott, the Liberty Advisor, and it's been a mighty fall for Exxon lately as Exxon has actually ended its 92-year run on the Dow Jones. It was booted off the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is really incredible news, as this Quartz article says. As Exxon exits the Dow, technology takes over the major stock indices, and we have stuff like Salesforce taking its place. Obviously, there's a lot of momentum going forward here. It's just crazy to think, as this article points out, the Dow historically consisted entirely of heavy industries, manufacturing and transportation. General Electric, U.S. Leather, and Chicago Gas Lighting Coke Company made the first list in 1896. Gradually, oil and gas rose through the ranks. At least one fossil fuel giant has been on the roster since the 1920s. It's a huge hit to the the oil industry, as this CNN article, I know it's CNN, screw CNN, but let's just talk about what the headline here says. Exxon was the world's largest company in 2013. Now it's being kicked out of the Dow, and we can see stuff like this. We see the share price. It's down 3.22% on the day as I report this, as it closed on August 25th. But with that said, Tim, we're going to go into this and much more today because obviously this is really big news. It's not every day you see something like Exxon kicked off of the Dow. I mean, again, one of the biggest companies in the world at one point just a couple of years ago. Obviously, there's a lot to be talked about here. But first, before we get into that, make sure to hit that like button, check the links below, share on social media, join our newsletter at www.iamband.com. And of course, if you want to become a client of Tim's, you can go to thelibertyadvisor.com. Obviously, you can join us on flote.app, BitChute, LBRY, and Minds, as we are leaving YouTube by November 5th of 2020. And of course, we are completely self-funded, or viewer-funded, so make sure to check the links below for ways that you can donate and pledge. Anyway, let's get into this, Tim. This is pretty crazy news considering how big of a company Exxon is. What do you think led to such a major move?
Well, you had mentioned that it's not every day, and actually today would be the only day, would be the only day that this has ever happened. So one thing about the Dow is it's actually a price. Sorry, it's a price-weighted index, whereas something like the S&P is a market-weighted index, and that might sound like boring and wonky. And why should you care about that? But the reason you should care about that is, let's say you have a stock that is $1 and you have a stock that is $100. Well, if they both go up $1, the stock that's only $1 doubled in price, whereas the stock that's $100 only went up 1%. Now, in the S&P 500, it would reflect it going up 1%, whereas in the Dow, the actual price of, so if a stock was up $1, then it would move the ticker, up, one point. And so it's really inefficient, and I gotta watch my language over here of other things I wanted to call, but it's a really, really dumb way of measuring things, and almost no one in like the actual investment community outside of just general investor psychology pays attention to the Dow. And then the other part of the Dow is Dow Jones Industrial Average. There's pretty much nothing industrial left about any of these companies that are there, but my guess is that what they see is this, older, mature company. And a lot of times if you have an older, mature company, especially with the rise of, what you were saying before with electric vehicles coming, that they don't see as much, and I'm saying like what their psychology is, not that I agree with it or don't agree with it, but they think there's probably not as much upside left, where some of these technology companies, that they think that there's more upside there. So if you take a look at the Dow in 2008 versus, today, it's pretty much, completely different. I know we're not looking at that right this second, but, so many names have been kicked off. I think back in 2008, I'm just going off memory, I think Bank of America at one point was kicked off, and something like Goldman Sachs added. So if you try to compare historical records, you're really comparing apples to oranges, because a lot of these names that were there 10 years ago aren't even there today, and the names that are there today probably won't be there 10 years from now. And there's another theory out there called the dogs of the Dow theory, and what that means is that from a contrarian point of view, that a lot of times you'd just be better off investing in the worst performing stocks in the Dow and the worst performing stocks in the S&P 500 for that year, and that those ones typically then saw the biggest gains the following year. But it's my theory or speculation rather, that they probably saw, hey, these are some older, big, stagnant type companies, and we want to get some, bigger players in there. That way we can, juice up the numbers. But to try to compare what things looked like back then versus today, it really is pretty much meaningless. But, I think it's all in the growth play aspect of it. But, then again, for someone that graduated in 2008, which, what a lucky me graduating in 2008. I remember back in upstate New York, gas was probably like $4.30 a gallon. And at the time, it was pretty much unconceivable to think that, now we would be in a position where, at one point gas was trading, or oil futures were trading negative at a certain point. But, I think that's, a short-term move, and that at a certain point it's going to bounce back up, and maybe they're going to wish they didn't kick it out, especially when, we're at a relative low, all things considered.
Absolutely. And by the way, first of all, before I go further, Tim obviously is a certified financial planner. So, again, you could become a client of his by checking thelibertyadvisor.com below. But I want to talk about a little bit about, the oil companies, the big oil companies. People have often said the oil companies are the biggest behemoths in the world. They have more power than anything. All wars are fought over oil, all that kind of stuff. Well, interestingly, the biggest, industries in the world, if you want to call it an industry, would be big pharma, and obviously things like the banking system is a huge behemoth as well. We see a move away from oil to a great extent, and a lot of people are kind of hedging their bets on a lot of the big tech companies, as well as the, companies like Tesla. Like this article here says, Apple and Tesla have long-term upside after stock splits, Jim Cramer says. We have another article here from one day ago that says, Tesla bear says stock is detached from reality, predicts $87 price target. I don't know about that. But another one here says Tesla can surge another 71% from current levels as it unlocks more growth potential in China, one analyst points out. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people talking about Tesla, Rivian, Nikola, and companies like that. Obviously, there is a move towards these companies. Not that they actually help the environment that much. Obviously, the creation of finding lithium is very big pollutant, and obviously, what it takes to manufacture a lot of these, they use a ton of petroleum to manufacture all these things. But we see at least some form of innovation going forward, pulling away from the oil industry, which has stood on top for so long. I wanted to talk a little bit about the stock splits with you, Tim. Can you explain what they are and why people should know about them?
Okay, yeah. First, I want to touch on a few things you said. So you said the wars are fought over oil. Well, a lot of the pharmaceutical companies are actually have oil-based, products in their pharmaceuticals, and that all ties back to Rockefeller. And then when it comes to, you mentioned that a lot of these electric vehicles are actually not that great for the environment. And I know that our listeners are smart enough to understand this, but if you take the entire life cycle of one of these, electric vehicles, a lot of times, the battery's only good for 10 years, or the vehicles break down after 10 years. Priuses. No, sorry, that was my coronavirus. I'm just kidding. But as you're taking a look at the total life cycle of, trying to, make the batteries, dispose of the batteries, not lasting as long, it's actually worse off. But, all the greenies get to feel all good, like they're doing something because they're virtue signaling. With that said, I actually do want to get an electric truck someday. So, I'm well aware of the hypocrisy, especially the people who are then getting it from, traditional electric sources. I mean, those are the biggest hypocrites. Now, if you're getting it from solar, I guess there's an argument to be made there. In terms of stock splits, traditionally, back, way back in the day, you would, back when you're, looking at, actual newspapers to get the price of things, a lot of these stock, and you're paying, big commissions. So maybe you're paying $50 a trade or even more than that. Stock splits was something that kept out the younger people, kept out people who weren't as wealthy. Well, when stocks didn't split. So let's say the stock that was $500 and a 5-for-1 split. Now it's only $100, and maybe people can afford it at $100, but not afford it at $500. But today there's things like, there's different platforms out there where you can buy fractional shares. So the argument that younger, less wealthy clients can't get into these names is somewhat mute, because there are platforms where you can buy fractional ownership. And I think a lot of this just goes to, people just, chasing things that are out there. And there's really no value created when you just say, okay, we got 100 shares of something, and now we're going to get 1,000 shares of something. I mean, what if I'm selling widgets and it doesn't create any more demand for your widgets? It doesn't, make your widgets more profitable. It only has to do with investor psychology, and because other people think that other people down the road will pay more for it because they're getting more shares, then then they want to offload to someone else. But there should be no value created by doing a stock split. Certainly, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think just in the past week or two, Apple has just been adding like a quarter, like basically like the market cap of Exxon. But there's no new news, no new headphones or phones or bigger demand. Matter of fact, there's probably less demand for, certainly for, higher end phones right now with so many people out of work. So I think a lot of it just goes to show the more retail, less experienced more immature market understanding that's leading to what's going on right now. And we're also, also with the Fed printing all the money and that finding its way to the stock market, that's creating all these disallocations of capital, creating all these bubbles. But, who knows? I mean, they could send the Dow Jones could go to, I think by the time I'm 60, it probably is going to be at 1 million, even if there's not any crazy event. But, it's probably going to be way the heck higher than that, because we're probably going to have some sort of hyperinflation in the stock market before the time I'm 60. But.
And we are going to be doing some videos today on that as well, which you can stay tuned for, or if it might already be posted, I don't know. But I think it's important to point out that we've seen this movement happening for a while before coronavirus, before all this stuff. We've seen this shift starting to take place over the last several years, and it goes without saying that eventually the oil companies would be replaced to some extent. Now, obviously, I've always been against the government having any involvement in that, and for pulling the rug out from underneath millions of employees across the United States and throughout the world. The market has to decide on that stuff. And personally, myself, I want a bulletproof cyber truck. I mean, that sounds awesome. I don't care how ugly the truck is. I want that truck. But with that said, going forward, we will continue to update on you on this stuff. Obviously, there's a big shift happening. We are in the middle of a reset of some kind, and it'll take the next 10, 15 years to really have a good understanding of exactly what's happening right now. But we are living through history right now, and things are going to be very different in 10 years from now. Never mind in 10 years, they'll be very different probably in a year or even 6 months from now. And you can take that to the bank. In my opinion, I think we are truly living in the strangest time in world history.
The bank? No.
Don't take it to the bank. Get out of the bank, in my opinion. But anyways, I appreciate everyone watching. And again, you can check those links below if you want to become a client of Tim's, and we have lots more videos coming up right away. Got to cut this video short because we go on and on and on, and we can make this video into a 3-hour video if we wanted to, and trust me, we have. So anyway, anyway, so I really appreciate you going into this. It's interesting looking at this versus the oil price earlier this year, going into the negatives, and it's a weird year for oil, that's for sure. But anyways, make sure to hit that like button, like I said before. Share this on social media to get around the shadow banning. Check those links below. There's lots of links that you guys can help fund WAM, or just support us by going to the other alternatives like Flote, BitChute, LBRY, and Mines. We're starting to pick up some steam on LBRY and BitChute, and we've really picked up a lot of steam on flote.app, flote.app, where we have just broken 4,000 followers. I really appreciate everyone who's gone there, because we will not be on YouTube after November 5th other than posting trailers to our full videos on the other platforms, because it's that or YouTube takes us down. We don't have a choice. It's one or the other. Obviously, we have to make that move as individuals and stop insulting our own intelligence by staying on such a site. So also, we are completely viewer funded, so make sure to check the links for GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar. You can pledge in Bitcoin on flote.app. And of course, we have Bitcoin addresses below, as well as a CoinTree address, which allows you to donate in Monero and other things like that if you click on that link. So we really appreciate your support, everyone. Obviously, we have a lot more coming up shortly, and a great way for us to be able to reach you is through www.iamband.com. All you have to do is put in your email address. That's it. That's all. Anyway, join us soon. We got lots more coming at you. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson with Tim Picciott signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. My friends, it is go time. We are completely demonetized on YouTube, and we depend on the viewer to stay alive and spread the message of freedom and truth. So check those links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, anything you guys could do to help keep independent media alive helps enormously in helping spread this message to the masses. So make sure to check those links. Donate to our Bitcoin address on the screen or below. We really appreciate anything you could do to keep us alive. You could check those links below for CoinTree as well, where you can find other cryptocurrencies that you can donate and keep WAM alive. Find us on flote.app, flote.app, as well as BitChute and LBRY and Mines. We're on all the other platforms. We are leaving YouTube soon, so make sure to find us at those sites, because it's the only way we can keep talking to you, the masses, the great people that actually care about the future of free humanity. Also, join our new newsletter at www.iamband.com. Anything helps at this point, guys. We need to support free information online. This is the most difficult time in our history, and it takes a lot of hard work to keep our message alive in the face of great evils that have taken over the propaganda news on television as well as on YouTube, where YouTube decides what you can or cannot see. We need your help, my friends. So I really appreciate anything you guys can do. Check those links. There's many ways you can help. Until next time, though, thanks, everyone. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.